Bro, I'm pumping off adrenaline. I'm way too in my element. I know there's people better than, but right now who is better than? A man that's working hard as shit, trying to find a pot to piss, showing all the us.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Extreme Lifestyle Living Podcast. Now, as you can see, different situation. I shouldn't say situation because that's looking at it negatively, but different environment. This Airbnb is definitely not as nice as the last one we were staying at. So I don't want to say we took it for granted, but we still have to get used to the actual area outside. And so where I'm actually shooting the episode inside the Airbnb unit. So it's fucking beautiful. You know, I don't want to sound like I'm not grateful. However, the last place we stayed at, there was a lot of extra amenities that came with the place. I don't want to say this one, again, I don't want to be ungrateful. This one has a lot of over promises from a visual standpoint. Let's put it that way. The Airbnb looked a lot bigger. A lot of the amenities, the gym, they even have a cinema. The cinema looks actually sick. The pool, all of these things, they look great, but they're not as good as the pictures show. So it's very claustrophobic. And, you know, I even had a little bit of a trouble because I was like, where am I going to shoot this episode? You know, the last one I was shooting at the last place was beautiful. It wasn't very busy. Not that this one is busy neither, but it's very compact. Last one is very spacious where there's a lot of room for everybody kind of to navigate and move around. Whereas this one here is a little bit more compact where you kind of feel like you're stepping on top of people's toes. Like if me and Emma are in the kitchen to the left over there, it's kind of hard for us to both be in there, you know, and over there with the room, it's very open, but it's great. I don't want to sound like I'm not grateful, but again, the last visual for the podcast looked fucking beautiful being outside. And again, like I'm not saying I'm not grateful. I'm absolutely very, very thankful for being here, but just being honest, you know, because I think that's the biggest challenge with this entire move that we're doing is challenging ourselves from the perspective of being super grateful for what we have, because I know a lot of people don't get to travel like we get to. And I think it makes us have that much extra appreciation for what we did have, not even just at the last Airbnb, but at home. Growing up in Canada, I feel like we take a lot of things for granted because there's so much stability from an infrastructure standpoint, political standpoint, and so many other areas. And I think, you know, just the way that the housing is here is just makes you appreciate the small things you don't even fucking think about when you're home. So that's the biggest reason why I'm sharing that, because again, I'm not trying to say I'm not grateful. This fucking place is beautiful. We have a full, like, it's fucking beautiful. Like we'll do a tour one day and I'll show you the place, and like Emma's out on the balcony right now doing some work, and it's absolutely fucking beautiful. But you know, just wanted to share that side of it because I did get a little annoyed when I looked at the camera and seen what I could have done in other videos. You know, I thought the videos being outside were fucking gorgeous, whereas this one here is, I think, is a little bit bland. And it's not my style, you know, and I had to move this lamp over here to make it a little bit pretty and stuff. And again, I'm not trying to be bougie, but again, I'm just trying to be picky with the standards, I guess I should say that way. But today's episode, I want to talk about 5 habits for a stronger mindset, to not only have a mindset that's impeccably strong and have a good mental fortitude, but also to set your fitness up for long term. Because a lot of us here are working on our fitness, working on our mindsets, working on our anxiety, depression, our mental health, and we really want to do it for the long haul. None of us here, especially you guys tuning in, are here for the temporary fix. We're not here to feel better in the mirror temporarily. We're not here to get in our physical best shape temporarily. We're no one to just cure anxiety with Band-Aids or depression with Band-Aids, or especially our self-esteem and confidence when we look in the mirror. We don't want to have any of these things temporarily. We want to build a foundation that we can live in our life for the absolute rest of our lives and have it. So longevity is a big thing I play with that as well. And, you know, I was trying to think about 5 habits, or like, you know, it's a handful of habits that could be tactical, that could be tangible, that you guys could take away from this episode that I've been practicing and preaching myself. So I have that experience and education with it, not just going to sit here and say, oh, write down this, it'll happen. Write down this habit, it'll happen. But actually something that I've worked on myself, have experience with it. I think when it comes from not only just experience, but also education, those 2 factors there, I feel like play a lot into giving you guys credibility about what I'm talking about. Because the biggest thing with me being where I'm at, like I said, being grateful, sharing my experiences and stuff, is like, I truly do believe every single person could do exactly what I'm doing and more, you know? Sorry, my water's over there. So I just want to share as much as I can, but also I just don't want it to be a ramble and emotional based. I want there to be education and something tactile you guys could take from it. So habit number 1 is you have to have something higher than yourself. And what I mean by this, it doesn't have to be a religion, it doesn't have to be spirituality, it doesn't have to be frequencies. It just has to be something bigger than who you are as a person. For me personally, what this means is faith. I have a cross on my back because I grew up with my grandparents, and they were very, I don't want to say religious because they didn't preach things like that to me. We didn't go to church. We didn't say our prayers after we ate dinner and things like this. Like, there were small things that were related to a lot of Christianity and, like, you know, Jesus and God and stuff, but you got to have faith in something bigger than who you are. The reason why this is so important is because when we're trying to become the best versions of ourselves, we're so tactical from a blueprint and paper and foundation standpoint. You want to gain muscle mass, you're tracking everything to a T, and it's either black or white, you're doing good or bad. You want to lose body fat, you do the same thing. You track your nutrition, you have one bad meal, you're a bad person because it's black or white. There's no negotiation with these things. And same with our careers. If we don't make enough money, we identify that we're poor or we're broke or we're not where we want to be. If we like have education, like, you want to be a nurse, you want to get your master's, you want to have certificates for certain things in your jobs, like we identify by these things. And that stuff is great. I'll talk about that stuff in a bit, but that's not the deal breaker as to where your success comes from. You have to believe in more than who you are and what life is to some degree, in some fashion that resonates with you, to get that bigger picture. And for me, that's faith through God. And I'm a firm believer that just because you believe in God doesn't mean you have to have a religion attached to it, an identity attached to it, anything more than faith. For me, God is more of a frequency, spirituality type of avenue. It just gives me a higher power to believe in because it grounds you, gives you confidence, and makes you focus on the right avenues of your life versus just filling your head with specific things that just make you tactical. What I mean by that is, like I said, if you have a gym program that to lose weight and to gain muscle mass, and you have like a career trajectory and an education trajectory where you got to show up and put your time in, you can't identify who you are by those things. They help identify who you are in these different avenues of your life, but they are not the definitive factor. So the reason why this is so important is because it grounds you, it keeps you safe, it gives you peace. And that's the biggest thing that's important for, like, when we're talking about these habits for longevity and have an incredible mindset, is because when you have these things built into your genetic mindset, your subconscious program, and you like really have faith in something higher power than you, like, again, it can go as far left field or far right field as you want it to go. If you want to take it into religion and bring up the Bible and start reading and going to Sunday schools and all these sermons and stuff, go for it. If it's spirituality and frequency and you want to go down those loopholes and look at the universe and what means what, go for it. Whatever makes you feel your best and resonates with your story and where you're taking your life, that's the point of it. So you didn't get too lost in the sauce with the blueprints and too lost in the sauce with the things that are tactical. Because again, just because you miss one gym session doesn't mean you're a piece of shit. Just because you quote unquote binge and have a meal off plan doesn't mean you're a piece of shit. Just because some other people around you maybe have more education, make more money than you, have a better career, doesn't mean you're a piece of shit. So when you have faith in the higher power things, this is where you get to get a lot of peace and grounding, and you get to look at who you are as a person throughout everything else, which makes it so much more powerful. For me personally, like I said, I believe in God. I believe in those higher powers because of what I've been through with my life, and it resonates with me. So I have a small routine that I do every morning. It's 5 times a week I'll do it because every single day I'm a human. I want to have some days off. And if I have any extra days that I do this every morning, then it's a fucking bonus. You see what I'm saying? So I'm always on the winning side of my mindset. And that's what I'm going to talk about later as well. But for me, it's a journal routine every morning. I do my affirmations. I do a to-do list, and then I do my gratitude list. I read a devotion from one of the Bibles that I have. It's a daily devotion that one of my buddies gave me. I read one of the scriptures from there. And then it's as easy as me opening up the Bible app itself and reading through one of those scriptures, going through what the process is, reading one of the prayers. And that's what it is for me. That's as simple as it is. It takes 5 to 10 minutes. There was a point in my life where I got to go down the rabbit hole and go crazy with it. But again, this is the entire idea of this for you, is to have something that grounds you throughout it. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as you understand that there's something more at play than who you are as a person and what you're doing each day. Now, obviously, 85% of it is what you get done every day and having the tactical stuff to get ahead in life. But you can't just be identified by that, because you're going to set yourself up for fucking failure. This is a good segue, which leads me to my point number 2, which is like, you got to train your mindset and your mental just like you train yourself in the gym. Just because we can't tangibly grab onto our thoughts and grab onto our mental health and grab onto how we feel, it's hard for us to put that into play, put that into fruition, which is why having something that you believe in higher helps you feel more grounded, at peace with these things, because you can go to the gym, you can show up, you can go for your runs, you can do all of the things tactically, cook your food, track your macros, put your hours in for your certificates, go to school and do these things. But if you're not changing your mindset and the way you view life and how you talk to yourself and, your self-limiting beliefs and your patterns, your negative thoughts, that's none of this is going to change, So that's a big thing that you guys got to put into some practice as well. And it really starts with your internal dialogue. It really starts with how you guys articulate yourself. And, again, it's not going to change overnight. It's not going to change over one day or 1 week or 1 month. It may even take fucking a couple years. But the biggest thing is like having that door open to something more than just something on paper. Like if you have depression or anxiety, challenging that in itself is part of that process. I have crippling anxiety. I almost had an anxiety attack doing this podcast today because I'm so uncomfortable in this new place that we're in. which made me question if I was even grateful for the life that I'm currently living right now. And that in itself is part of the process. And I'm saying that at the level that I'm at right now. So it shows you guys, it just shows you guys how real this is. And you only know what you know from an environmental standpoint, which I'll talk about later, is, how you were brought into this world, how your parents talk, how your friends talk, how everyone around you talks, and what you consume on Instagram and TikTok and online and social media. That's your subconscious programming. On top of that, the tangible stuff, the blueprint, the foundation you're building is great, but how you enter that foundation is fucking everything. So as much as you train in the gym and try to be your best version in those avenues as well, you have to put just as much energy into your mental health. So if you have anxiety, question what that is, research about it, understand it from a different perspective to embrace those feelings and emotions as best as you can. And then if you believe in something higher than yourself and what's tactical and tangible in front of you, it's going to be that much more comforting within it. Same with depression. I used to be depressed as fuck. And if I'm not confident and really careful with my day-to-day and week-to-week patterns, I'll fall into that depression. I don't have depression anymore. I have I have depression-like symptoms because I'm used to that lifestyle. Low frequency, low self-esteem, hating myself, and internal dialogue being horrible. You got to have some type of challenge on that. And, I think a big thing for all of us, we all struggle with self-esteem. We all struggle with self-confidence. We all struggle with some type of self-limiting beliefs, whether it's, talking shit about yourself or, the way you view yourself in these things. And even that is why it's important to have a journal routine and some type of articulation of expression for yourself to get over those humps. Every single time you go in the mirror, the truest version of yourself is going to speak. If you think and I don't want to use these words or label them, but if you think you're ugly, you think you're fat, you think you don't make enough money, you expose yourself. So as everyone thinks, if you make more money or get in better shape and have a better career, have something that's more tangibly better in front of you, that just compensates for all of this. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. That's why having something more in terms of mental health and your self-esteem and challenging those self-limiting beliefs. If you don't think you're good enough for a good relationship or good enough to make a certain amount of money or good enough to be in good shape or good enough to do whatever it is you dream and aspire to be, then you're never going to be there regardless if you have it. And that's why it's important to have this stuff, whether it's reading books to challenge these things. Like I said, same with anxiety and depression. Research these things. Find out what these things are. Understand them to a T. And then eventually, you're not going to resonate with it all. That's why I'm saying with spirituality and things that ground you, find what works for you. But once you start finding avenues of these lives, you're not the only one that suffer with these things. If you're not the only one that talks shit about yourself in your head, in your mind, you're not the only one that struggles with self-esteem and confidence. Everyone in the gym and everyone working on themselves is insecure to a point because we're doing something we've never done. So the number 2 with the habit working and training your mind, just like you do in the gym, is super important because you got to change the foundation of your mind in order to have that mental fortitude, to have this fitness and longevity forever, because there's going to be ebbs and flows in life. You're going to have great seasons of life. You're going to have busy seasons of life. You're going to have low seasons of life. You're going to deal with grief. You're going to deal with depression, career changes, challenging friendships, family, relationships. And every single time that happens, you're going to be that much more exposed to yourself, just like you're exposed every time you see in the mirror. So you got to challenge your belief systems. You got to practice your internal dialogue. You got to catch yourself talking shit to yourself and rewire that to be more positive. For me personally, if I don't do a good job on something, I'm so quick to tell myself that I suck. I'm so quick to tell myself that I'm a piece of shit. I'm so quick to say that I'm not capable enough. And it doesn't have to be this crazy algorithm. You're like, okay, well, this is exactly what I have to do because I heard or said this inside my head. It's just simple as if I think I suck, challenge that with saying, no, I don't suck. If I look in the mirror and I feel exposed to my own emotions and say, oh, you look fat today, or all these different things, I don't struggle with this at all anymore physically, for sure, because I worked very hard to get here, but I worked hard to combat that. No, I'm not a piece of shit. I'm working very hard from X, Y, and Z, which is why this is where the tangible blueprint and foundational stuff is great, because that's more proof for you to validate yourself. But if you're not articulating any of these emotions mentally, none of it's going to fucking come to fruition, because again, you're not changing the foundation of it. You're just building upon a shitty foundation, which means you could have everything you think in this world is going to make you happy, when in reality, you're not even going to have the perspective and the lens to appreciate it, because you don't know who you are within it. Just because you have your Lamborghini and you're driving it doesn't mean that you're driving it with confidence. You're still going to be exposed to a mirror and feel like shit one of these days. So if you do have self-limiting beliefs, anxiety, depression, self-esteem issues, confidence, whatever it is, and especially in the negative internal dialogue, it starts off simple. Combating that, understanding it, and embracing it, no different than it is from the first one. Which leads me to number 3, which is you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Nothing comes easy in this life. You have to be very comfortable being uncomfortable, and challenging these self-limiting beliefs, challenging your faith, challenging your anxiety, challenging your depression is incredibly fucking hard. No different than it is going to the gym and challenging your workouts. You're doing workouts you've never done before. That's hard. You've never tracked your nutrition. You never knew what nutrition was. You don't know what protein are, carbs are, fats are, all these different things. It's uncomfortable challenging these things. So 90% of the battle we always talk about is being consistent, and consistently being uncomfortable is where you see that growth. So you guys also got to have a habit each day and each week and each month to challenge yourself. If life is too easy, that's because it's not hard enough for you to actually grow. And then that's where you guys get stuck in the systemized process of, like like beating yourselves up. But why am I not far enough? Why am I not doing good enough? Why aren't where I thought I would be at this time? Is because we get so comfortable. And not to go on a side tangent, but we're genetically programmed to be comfortable. This isn't back in the day in caveman days where it's like you had to go and kill food and cook it to eat it, or like, go and scavenge for shit. We live in a very soft world. We live in a world that's very privileged, where if you're busy, it's a privilege, because there's a lot of people out there struggling right now. And if you're comfortable all the time, that right there in itself shows that you're not doing a lot of things in your life right, and you're not going to get to where you want to be in this life. And we only have one life on this. We only have one shot. We only have one shot to live this life, and we have no clue when our time is going to be done. It could be tomorrow. It could be when we're 99 years old with a big, fruitful family. But regardless, we don't know when our time is up on this planet. And the more you can conceptualize being uncomfortable, embracing your anxiety, embracing your depression, embracing your fitness goals, embracing your career goals, and just really challenging yourself to get the most out of it. I'm not talking about beating yourself up. I'm not talking about like hurting yourself. That's not what I'm talking about. Like, if you know you're capable of more and you feel that in your soul and you see yourself in the mirror and get challenged with that, embrace it. If you've been in the gym for 2 or 3 years and you're comfortable in the gym and your routine now, find a new goal and challenge yourself. If you're not working on your fitness at all, get uncomfortable and start your fitness. If you're comfortable with tracking your nutrition and you got systemized meal prep, but you don't know how to track macros, challenge yourself. Even in your career, like a lot of us go to school, we get our education, and then as soon as we get our careers, like we live and do the same job for 30, 50 years. Like, challenge that, get a side gig, do something that's more rewarding and fulfilling to just challenge yourself to get more out of your life. And that's the third habit there, is because, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could be a cold plunge that you do once a week or every day. It could be, like I said, a new fitness goal. It could be a new goal. It could be fucking learning a new language. It could be trying to even articulate yourself in a different manner. With me and Emma, I love to challenge our relationship to grow with each other from a communication standpoint, to the point we not joke about it because it's not a joking manner, but, eventually when we're more regulated at home and have a house and kids, we're going to go to therapy, couples therapy, to stay ahead of this stuff. We want to be challenged with each other's mindsets, because, me and her have been together for 7 to 9 years with it, give or take. I can't really remember 100% because we've been living so present within each other's lives that we're comfortable with each other. But that comfortability can be and is the reason why a lot of you don't see success, is because you're just comfortable within life, which is fine. You got to learn how to reward yourself and be comfortable, because you went through uncomfortable stages to get here. But again, whatever area in your life, you got to be comfortable with you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's the big thing that a lot of you guys don't do, is because, again, it's our ego and the way we've been programmed in our life. We're just so quick to be like, pat ourselves on the back, we deserve it. But if you're not truly happy, like through the fucking moon happy, and there's work out there left to do for yourself, it's not a negative thing, I got to keep doing things. It's a positive thing, because you got to get uncomfortable more. Like I said, even at the beginning of this podcast, I'm not saying I'm ungrateful for where we're at, but I want to get more uncomfortable to challenge myself to grow, to get to that next fucking level. That's not denying where I'm at. And the same thing with you guys, not denying what you guys have done with your fitness goals, your life goals, your relationship goals, your finance goals, all these things. But again, if you know you need more to life, you got to challenge yourself. And 9 times out of 10, when you're too comfortable, you're just going to fall back to your old habits, fall back to the things you've done. And then that's where a lot of us, especially from a fitness standpoint, get super upset, because we get in great shape and then we lose it. We track our macros, learn all these things about workouts, then we lose it. You know what I mean? We have this ambitious goal to get educated, get certified, get this goal going in terms of a financial career and career-driven understanding of life, to go from working like a 9-to-5 job, or let's say working part-time or whatever, to getting a career where we know we can retire, and then we get comfortable, we get complacent. Once you can conceptualize the idea that being uncomfortable and being consistent with that is 90% of the battle, you'll always see success, which is why I'm highlighting this so heavily, because again, it's a longevity goal. And these habits about building the mental fortitude from a fitness and mental health standpoint is so crucial, because just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean it's bad. You always want to challenge yourself to grow. And if you're not challenged, you're not uncomfortable. And that's that. That's it. That's as simple as that one is. Which leads me to my point number 4, which is honestly my favorite one to talk about, because it was incredibly hard for me to kind of understand this one, because, you don't want to work until you're burning out all the time. That's how you spin your tires. That's how a lot of you guys get uncomfortable in the beginning, see some success, you burn out, and your fitness goals, 100%, you burn out and you start over again. You're so systemized with your routines for going to the gym and tracking your macros that eventually you guys have a 1 week off over the course of a year, or over 2 years or a few months. And that 1 week lasts like 6 months, so you go back to, I used to be in the best shape of my life and I lost it all. I used to be getting up at 4 a.m. and getting after my life, but then I lost it all of these different things. And it's because, you don't just want to be busy. You got to be productive. And I think that's just the big thing about challenging yourself to be uncomfortable, because once you get comfortable and complacent with certain avenues of your life, you forget about where you're going in life, because you forget about that tenacity and that grit. And it's very hard to keep it, because when you have something you've never had before and you've earned it, and you pat yourself on the back, that's where you got to learn how to keep this up, which is why I'm talking about these habits for longevity's sake, right? And, burnout is not a good thing. Just because you work a lot and you get up all the time and you're getting after it and creating the life that you fucking deserve, if you're burning out every week, if you get to the weekends and you're absolutely fucking exhausted, you don't want to see nobody, your anxiety's going through the roof, you're having a little bit of a depression mindset and negative self-talk, that's not great. Do you know what I mean? That's not great. You want to create a base where you can get to the weekend, anchor it, rejuvenate. You know what I mean? Every single month you have these goals from fitness goals. You want to get to the end of the month, reward yourself and treat yourself to get to the next month and do that much more. Same with your careers. A lot of you guys that have like very high performing jobs and career driven careers are great, but it can't come at the expense of burnout. Initially at the beginning, you got to show up a lot more in burnout to kind of figure out where you need to go in life, which is correct. But eventually when we're talking about longevity and we're talking about keeping this forever, you have to change your patterns a little bit. And for me, like there was a point I was working several jobs. I was working a sales job. I was a sales manager at a gym, and I was working 50 hours a week. On top of that, I had a part-time job working 12 to 24 hours extra a week. And then on side of that, I was working on my mentorship program, my community, what I'm doing now, and my coaching business. And, there has to be a point where you put in all this time, but eventually you're going to get to that next level of life. And like that's that cheesy saying, what got you here is not going to get you there. And you got to be able to slow down and reflect, rejuvenate, relax, and fill your own fucking cup up. Which is why if you don't know how to articulate yourself mentally, your anxiety, your depression, your internal dialogue, your self-limiting beliefs, and you don't believe in anything more, you're just going to become a workhorse, which is fine. But the number one regret that people have when they look back on their life is they wish they worked less. They literally wish they worked less. And that's crazy because, how many of us right now, like I'm turning 31 this month, and how many of us now are still like, oh, I got to get so much ahead. Like so many people out there have so much more than I have from a financial standpoint. Like comparison is a thief of joy. We always look at people that have a better shape than us, more money than us, better anything in life. And, right now where we are, if you have been showing up for a long time through the course of your life, we're missing out on all of the greatest parts. So put in your time every single day. But learn how to slow down, learn how to read, learn how to like enjoy yourself watching a movie with your partner or your friends. Go out and have a good dinner, go and have a few drinks, hang with your family, hang with your friends, hang with your fucking self. So when you get to the weekend and get to these goalposts, not only are you reflective and proud of what you've done, but you're going to understand that when you're comfortable doing that, it's earned. So then you get back to that Monday, the start to the week or start to the goal again, you get uncomfortable again. So you just don't lose sight of that. And I think that's just the hardest one for a lot of us to conceptualize because we have so much anxiety when we don't do shit. Just because you're sitting down watching Netflix and hanging out, that doesn't mean you're a piece of shit. Look at the blueprint. Did you put in all your work for the gym? Did you show up? Like prime example in nutrition. So many people are scared to have bad foods. Like go out and enjoy a burger and fries or go out and enjoy a few alcoholic beverages or, let loose for 3 days and just like fuck off on life. Like what's the point of showing up if you're never going to give that to yourself? Which is why when you get older, 90% of the people, when they're older, their number one regret is they wish they work less. You work so hard for something that you never even enjoyed. So, burnout is the killer of everyone's happiness. And, once you put in enough time to see success and get in better shape, make a little bit more money, get a better career, get a happy relationship, the next step is keeping that, so you want to start looking at your progress and stop chasing perfection with this one because there's no such thing as perfection. If you're chasing perfection, it's probably why you're burnt out every day, every week, every month, every year, and probably why you give up, which leads me to my last one. The fifth habit is checking who's around you because misery loves fucking company. And if your immediate friend group isn't supportive of you, there's no neutral grounds. Like, you can have people that understand what you're doing, but don't have to like 100% support you to a degree. But if you're putting your time into something that's not at least rejuvenating yourself, like we all have friends, like prime example, like, me and Emma, we have friends that don't have the same lifestyle as us, but we still hang out on the weekends. We still can hang out every now and then because just because they have one set of life and we have another set of life doesn't mean we can't all hang out and play the Nintendo Switch, play some Mario Kart and do these things, rejuvenate each other's souls. But if you don't have a supportive group that is like continuously trying to uplift you or challenge you to get uncomfortable, focus on your faith, focus on your beliefs, and challenge yourself subconsciously and build the life more, then you are going to become a product of that environment. And I've been saying that a lot lately because, again, it goes back to the burnout. Like, if you just stay in this one area of your life, you're only going to get as far as your life will take you from these areas. And if you don't conceptualize that you can have your cake and eat it too, you can build your life, work super hard and not burn out. You can have people around you that truly support you 110% for who you are as a person, who you are as a man, as a woman, however you want to go without your life or go through your life. And it's true, and that's the biggest thing that I learned with me, because comparison is always crazy. And, just because your group around you doesn't verbally say anything to you about your goals, that is a problem. You guys can have commonalities. Like, prime example, like a lot of my friends with the gym, like I go to the gym, we'll hang out in the gym and like we'll train together, and like we don't really talk elsewhere. That's fine. We have commonalities. They're more of acquaintances than friends, but your immediate group, your friends that you text when you're super anxious, super depressed, or challenging, or feeling challenged with life, like these people here have to uplift you. And if they're not uplifting you and not asking about your goals, and you guys are learning from each other, like it's not going to work out. And I just was reading a case study the other day. Me and Emma actually were reading it together, and everybody that's on a journey of becoming the best version of themselves, which again, going back into the longevity side of things. And I feel like a lot of us here, especially between 25 and 35, have trouble with this. Every 7 years, you shed your friend group. Every fucking 7 years, you shed your friend group and you lose a lot of people, or you double down and gain a couple people, or you double down and become closer with some people. Because, at the end of the day, if you're growing and you're always changing, but some people aren't, it doesn't make sense to hang with them. And I think when you bring family into this, it gets a little harder, because your family, again, they have that unwavering love and support for you because you are family, but it doesn't mean they really believe in you, which isn't a bad thing, because again, you got to learn how to distance yourself and find people that are more supportive, which is amazing with social media to these days, because you have access to so many people. Like shout out Mark, I run the calls with him every Monday Night Huddle with our entire community and a coaching business. And we've been doing that for over 3 fucking years. Every Monday at the same time. I mean, now I'm in Mexico, so it's 5 p.m. now, but when I was home in Halifax, 7 p.m. We never missed a Monday for 3 years. We only missed Christmas, New Year's, and we just started putting more boundaries again around the holidays, because we can't burn out. We have so much going on and so much ambition with life that we again, what got us here is not going to get us there. So now we're kind of taking the time off on the weekends and on the long weekends, because it's on Monday and sometimes there's a lot of holidays on Monday, that it's okay to not do those days. But again, I met Mark. I've never met him in person. We text all the time. We're always communicating about our fitness goals. We're always communicating about our faith. And he's actually the one that got me into the spirituality with God more so, because I support him and he supports me. So it's 2 peas in a pod from an ambitious standpoint. Like he refills my cup, I refill his cup. We get fired up when we enjoy each other's company. And had I not let go of some other friends and to allow people like him in my life and a couple other people I could sit here and name, they would never come, So I think that's very comforting when I read that case study that says every 7 years you change your friend group, because we always feel bad. We're always like, oh, like I'm my best friend from childhood. It's like, that's fine. Like I still got my best friends from childhood. They're my best friends. We got the group chat and stuff, but that doesn't mean they're less than or I'm less than. We have different friend groups now. We have different people in our lives for different avenues. If you're always growing, you need to change your environment as well, which is a big reason why I'm in Mexico. I literally shared at the beginning of this episode how uncomfortable I was with certain avenues because of just being here. But that doesn't mean I'm not grateful. And that doesn't mean you don't love your friends or your family and these people you used to hang with. It just means you're different. And you're, again, going back to being uncomfortable, you're challenging yourself to get that much more out of life. So these 5 habits I think are fucking incredibly crucial, because there's only 4 months left of 2025. And with our mindsets being so egotistic and being comfortable and wanting us to stay safe, we're always assuming that things in our life are so much more. To a degree, if a fitness goal needs 6 months to get done, you got to do it in 6 months. Like if you're looking at 50 plus pounds fat loss, that's not just a 2-month process. If you want to update your career and get a new certificate, there's durations attached to this. But when it comes to faith, when it comes to getting uncomfortable every day, when it comes to challenging your mindsets, when it comes to treating your mental health in your day-to-day life like a fitness goal from a tactical standpoint and putting in the reps in those areas outside of the gym, you'd be amazed at how fast your life can change. And when you let go of anchors of friends in your group or friends around you just because you've been around them so long, or you don't know how to challenge it, just because, again, you don't have to do anything significant, just say no. Say no to people that you continuously say yes to. And especially when it comes to relaxing and, not burning out, just take some time off. Sit in silence. Instead of driving your car with the music on all the time, drive in silence. You know, when you wake up in the morning, instead of going right on your phone, give yourself 30 minutes in the morning. You know, it's all these little small habits that you got to start taking more charge in your life for a longevity standpoint, for your mindset and your fitness to continuously stay leveled up, because we only know what we know. And if you don't change the people around you, including your family, you're going to stay a victim to their level of success. And again, it's not to shit on these people, but if it doesn't match with who you are as a person and you're articulating yourself in the mirror and you want to be a different person, it's never gonna play out. It's never gonna play up to what you want. And the last thing you guys want is to get older, you know? And like, I grew up with my grandparents. I see them now. They're in their 70s and 80s, and all they're telling me all the time, and I'm sure you guys have grandparents to a degree, always saying, oh, if I was your age, I would do X, Y, and Z. If I was your age, I would do X, Y, and Z. If I could go back and do it again, I would do X, Y, and Z. We're here right now able to do that, which is why these 5 habits are so much more important. But that's all I got for today's episode. I'm really fired up because these episodes, I feel like I'm really trying to take them to another level, to challenge myself, to get uncomfortable, make them more tactical, give you guys more things to actually think about, and take in your day-to-day, week-to-week, and month-to-month life. You know, because again, on one side of the table, it's very easy to sit here and be like, I'm going to show up, I'm going to cross my T's, I'm going to dot my I's, I'm going to check my boxes and do these things. But if there's no belief system or no mental subconscious programming behind that, then it doesn't matter. Making $1 million or retiring yourself or retiring your family is not going to do fucking nothing for you if every time you look in the mirror you hate yourself. And every time you hang with people that aren't supportive of you, it doesn't matter how well you do, because you're never going to feel good enough. You know, so remove everyone around you, remove all of your subconscious programming that doesn't support where you want to go in your life, and just get uncomfortable every fucking day. So I appreciate you guys all for tuning in, as always. And, you know, hope you guys took something from this episode. And let's just keep doing what we do best, which is lead from the fucking front and take exactly what's ours, because we're willing to put in the work. Let's get it.
I'm pumping off adrenaline. I'm way too in my element. I know there's people better than, but right now who is better than? A man that's working hard as shit, trying to find a pot to piss, showing all the